Well, my next guest tonight is Bradley Bowman. He is with the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Brad, it's good to see you again. Let me just ask you, what have you been hearing? Is the Taliban's return across most of Afghanistan after September, is that a given among top officials at the Pentagon?
Thanks for the opportunity to discuss this issue with you. The commander of U.S. Central Command, General McKenzie, has expressed in the last few weeks serious concerns about how the Afghan security forces will do once U.S. and international forces leave. It really is an open question. We've had a Afghan study group here that consists of top experts from both sides of the political aisle, and they expressed concern about an all-out civil war if forces left on a precipitous timeline, focusing on the calendar rather than conditions on the ground. And unfortunately, from my perspective, that's exactly what the Biden administration is doing. They're ignoring conditions on the ground. They're ignoring the advice of commanders. And they're proceeding with a timeline-based withdrawal, which mirrors the mistake, in my view, that the Obama administration made in Iraq in 2011. And of course, we had to send troops back 3 years later. And I fear we'll have to do the same thing in Afghanistan in the coming years.
Washington's special envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, told the House Foreign Affairs Committee today, and I'm quoting here, "We are all skeptical, wondering if the Taliban are just sugarcoating what they actually will do." So, am I reading this right? The man who is the U.S. go-to man for Afghanistan, he doesn't even know if the deal with the Taliban is worth the paper that it's written on.
It's quite an extraordinary comment, isn't it? I've been of the view that if the United States wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan, we should have just done that and not bestowed undeserved credibility on the Taliban, which, by the way, has refused to break with al-Qaeda, right? It's interesting how the West is so eager to follow every little last I and dot I and T in the agreement. And yet one of the fundamental expectations of the Taliban under the agreement was to break with al-Qaeda, and they have not done that. So, why would we expect better from them after we leave than we've received now? And so, I'm deeply concerned. The United States, our military leaders, the Pentagon have said, will know less about the counterterrorism threat in Afghanistan after we leave, and will be less agile and effective in responding. And, that's concerning coming from the country that gave us 9/11.
I want you to take a listen to what the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said. He is not so sure about the future for his country. Take a listen.
If they do not want peace and want to gain power through violence and impose a dictatorial regime, then all the patriotic forces of Afghanistan would have to rally and make a decision. And that issue, unfortunately, would have to be decided on the field of battle.
Yeah, they'd have to rally, they'd have to make a decision, they'd have to defend the country. Are the Afghan forces, are they prepared, are they qualified to do that?
Fighting and dying to defend their country for, since 2001 against the Taliban and al-Qaeda. So, they've fought bravely and they've sacrificed even more than international forces have. And let's not forget that at one point there were 100,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan. We're down to about 2,500 now. One of the reasons for that is, other than politically motivated decisions, has been the fact that the Afghan security forces have added capacity. But the bottom line is this is a politically motivated decision that's calendar-based. And the deadline of September of this year is just really unfortunate because it's, that, of course, that's the anniversary of the attacks on our country. And I'll hasten to add that, more than 1,000 of our NATO allies have paid the ultimate sacrifice there as well. And so it's a sad thing.
Brad, I have to ask you, before we run out of time, I want to ask you about a report that U.S. President Trump, former President Trump, tried to have all U.S. forces abroad withdrawn and brought back home, and that he wanted it done before he left the White House. Obviously, that did not happen, but, let's have an intellectual experiment here for a moment. Would it have even been possible?
Yeah, no, it's, so going down from about 4,000 out at that time in a matter of weeks would have been nearly impossible and incredibly dangerous. Let's remember that when you're withdrawing, you have more people on the roads, they're more vulnerable to attacks and so forth. So it would have been possibly not possible and also quite dangerous. And so, that unfortunately, the Pentagon was not as prepared as they should have been to implement this decision, which frankly they should have seen coming. There's still open questions about how we'll support the Afghan forces from over the horizon, transferring contracts, logistical support. Those questions should have been answered months ago.
Bradley Bowman with the Center on Military and Political Power. We appreciate your time and your insights tonight, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you.